I would actually like to put a quote through to you by Marcus Aurelius,
The goat himself.
somebody who you put me on, and it's from Meditations. And the quote pretty much reads: "The mind freed from passions is an impenetrable fortress. A person has no more safe place of refuge for all time." And just stemming off of that, I'd like to ask, what's your relationship with your mind?
I believe that quote, Marcus Aurelius, is referring to a meditative state, a state of deep intrinsic self-reflection, which he is known for. He's known for criticizing himself, and the whole book Meditations is his personal diary written to himself, not censored to be published, because it wasn't meant to be publicized. His own ideas of Stoic philosophies and principles of how he can improve himself for the betterment of his people and the people around him. Bearing in mind that at the time, he was the most powerful person in the known world. He was the Roman emperor at the height of the Roman Empire. So you get a unique aperture through which you can view one of the greatest minds of all time, one of the greatest leaders of all time, and you can read his personal works and his personal diaries of such a reflective man. Sorry, what was the question again? I went off on a bit of a rant. It was my relationship with my mind.
It was your relationship with your mind.
So my relationship is, like I said, being my harshest critic, and also having to realize that I can be very analytical, but also very harsh in my criticism of myself. And that's something I had to deal with and realize, to be able to work around that in a constructive manner.
Okay, thanks for sharing. And I mean, it's a very interesting insight. Not very many people are willing to admit that they're our harshest critics. And it takes a really big person to admit something like this. And well, I guess a whole analogy that I like to think of behind what drives us is the whole idea of the carrot and the stick. The carrot being extrinsic and intrinsic motivators, and the stick being, well, the stick.
Mm-hmm.
It's discipline.
Yeah.
Well, do you believe in this model? What's your carrot? What's your stick?
I believe a lot more in the carrot than I do the stick.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe as a starting point, discipline is good. You have to have some rigidity, especially as a young man. You need a routine. You need those values instilled into you that can help you a lot later on in life. But I believe you need to align why you are doing something with your higher purpose. And that becomes the intrinsic carrot, as you said. And aligning what you are doing, why you are doing it with your higher self, and focusing on the input rather than the output is something I learned from John Gabb, one of my mentors in the mindset space. You want to break down your goal, your very shallow goal that you have at the moment, of whether it's financial. Let's use the example of having $1 million liquid. You need to be able to break that down into its core fundamental belief structure, why it is meaningful to you. So you ask, why do I want this? What would I do with it? Okay, me personally, it then allows me to take responsibility and to care for the people around me, to be the rock that those people can rely on, come to for help. I can give the people I care about the most experiences that they wouldn't be able to afford themselves. So these are my intrinsic motivators. And at every level you ask, okay, that's my answer. Then I ask why again. Why do I feel the need to provide? Why do I feel the need to be a rock? Okay, that's an interesting one. I came from a single mother household. I had to be the rock from a young age because I had an absent father. And why do I feel the need to spoil my loved ones? Because I watched the hardship, particularly my mother went through, to provide the best life she possibly could for me, and I want to repay her. Okay, we ask why again. Why do I feel the need to repay her? And all of that was stemming, that deeper reason why was this crippling sense of unworthiness of my current situation, of the beautiful mother that birthed me, of my entire upbringing, my childhood. And when you get to that level, that deep level of why, you will recognize it immediately, because you will have goosebumps that you cannot control. And then you need to take this belief structure. Okay, you have broken down your beliefs in why you want to achieve something. You have your higher purpose. Now, how do you get to the point where, going back to the carrot example, where you become the person that the actions come naturally to that move you towards your goal. You need to focus on the input, which is being, rather than the output, which is doing or having. So the goal used to be, let's take the surface level goal of having 1 million liquid. You flip it on its head. I am fascinated now with the person I have to become in order to attract that wealth naturally through who I am as a person, through my network, through my connections, through my trustworthiness, through my financial literacy, through my business ventures, through the high income skills that I have learned. And that person who I need to become, my higher self, my fullest potential, that's what then motivates me. And that makes discipline almost redundant.
That is an incredibly interesting take. And well, I guess I would like to ask, with you being one of the more disciplined people that I have met, how would you get into cycle, so to say? So obviously you have emotional drivers, which I'll get back into, but how do you get into, well, action? How do you get into taking action? How do you move between thinking to being?
Like I just defined, define what you want to achieve and why. Know your deep reason why, your intrinsic reason, and use that as what you are moving towards as the carrot. But also a useful skill is think about the negatives. What happens if you don't achieve your higher self, if you don't achieve the goal that you need to achieve, that you want to achieve? You could link it to, for instance, I need to make this amount of money to be there for my family. Okay, what happens if you don't do it? What happens if your mom now comes to you in her old age and she needs private medical care in Switzerland for a very rare type of cancer? And you now have to deal with the fact that you chose to be a bum. You chose not to put in the work, and you have to look your mom dead in the eye and say, I didn't make it. I didn't do what I knew I should have to put me into position to take care of you. And that is a deep reason. Human beings need something to move towards, but more importantly, they need something to run away from. They need fear driving them. What happens if they don't do it? And once you get to a reason like that, you will become so uncomfortable that you have to move towards your goal.
Absolute shivers.